if you are curious what this animal is and do you like it, there are still some stickers on the registration desk, so you can get them during the coffee break. And Norm told me that there are Schematron.
This is a new mascot.
New mascot.
Yeah.
Okay. And Norm told me that there are still few free slots for Demo Jam, so if you have some idea what to present in the evening, just approach Norm probably during the coffee break. Okay, and I have pleasure to welcome speakers. The first speakers of afternoon session, Octavian and Nico, and then they will tell you something about Schematron and very nice and useful addition on top of Schematron, which is quick fixes.
I just wanted to say a few words that I asked Octavian to propose this Schematron quick fix, so I feel a bit responsible for this session. But Octavian said that he will not actually present unless I introduce him. So,
yeah, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Octavian, Nadolu, and Nico Kutscherauer.
Thank you. Thank you, George. So, hello everybody. My name is Octavian Nadolu. I'm working for Syncro, the company that makes Oxygen XML editor. I have here with me Nico Kutscherauer, who is working for Data to Type, and who is also the initiator of this Schematron quick fix language. So we'll discuss about the power of the Schematron quick fixes, and we'll show you some interesting use cases on how you can create quick fixes. So we'll discuss about the language and the addition that we have in the latest draft, and also some use cases about quality assurance, about efficiency, and Schematron interactions with SQF. So what is SQF? For those who don't know, so it's a language that allows you to define actions that will correct the problems reported by the Schematron language. So there are custom actions that can be defined by the user. A little bit about Schematron history. So we started in 2014 with this idea of having a language that will allow you to define actions. Here at XMLPrague was this initiative taken by Nico, and then we had this working group at W3C. We had the first draft after 1 year, and last year we had the second draft of the specification. The specification is available on GitHub and also on the W3C working group. You can give us feedback, or you can send us requests about the language. A few things about the second draft of the specification. So we made some important improvements on the Schematron quick fix specification in this second draft. And one of them is that we have this multilingual support. We have also support to generate multiple fixes for one problem reported by Schematron. We changed also this SQF keep element. We added some regular expression flags for the string replace operation. And we also redesigned the model of the SQF that will allow you to call multiple actions from a single SQF fix and somehow reuse a set of actions. I will tell you a few things about some of the features. So the multilingual support allows you now to set a ref attribute on the title and on the description of a quick fix. And in the value of the ref attribute, you can set, let's say, an ID, but you can set also a key or a phrase that. So the implementation of the multilingual support, it's open. It's not something restrictive. But we wanted to have something also that will match the current support that it's in Schematron and allows you to use diagnostics and refer phrases using diagnostic mechanism. So One implementation can be using the same support that it's in Schematron, and you could refer in the ref attribute some IDs of diagnostics, and these phrases will be used depending on the options of the application. So if the application it's in German, then it will display the messages in German. If it's in English, it will display the messages in English. And I will show you an example. We have here some multilingual support, and it's a simple schematron. And you notice that in the assert, we have these diagnostics, which are some IDs that are defined, in fact, in other files that are included here. And similarly, for the SQF fix, you have also IDs. And we can go to one of them. And we see that we have, for example, here all the messages from the assert, and also for the quick fix directly near each other. So it's easier maybe to translate. But it comes also with some problems that, for example, Schematron quick fix language will depend on the Schematron somehow. And if I open, for example, a document that has this quick fix, I set the German language, we see that I get the message in German here, because I said in the application that I want some messages in German. Then I'll get both the message from the assert and the quick fix in German, and the description also in German. Another implementation can be with using Java properties files. And for this, you need to refer in the value of the ref attribute the key from the property file. And then the property file should have a pattern like this, maybe. Just the file name, the name of the Schematron file, and underline the language. And depending on also on the application settings and the implementation, can present the messages differently. So this implementation, it's open, so can be done also with other approaches, let's say. But the problem in this case, for example, is that in Schematron you'll have the mechanism with diagnostics, and then the messages from SQF will be separate from the one from Schematron. So there are some issues here. Another important addition in the last draft was this support to allow you for one message to present multiple quick fixes based on an expat expression. So you can define an expat expression that, I don't know, takes values from another file, and for each value present a quick fix that will insert that value. Or like in my example here, I have an expat expression that iterates all the list items from a list, and for each list item will present a quick fix to remove it. And this is dynamically, so if I remove one, then it will be updated automatically. The Schematron quick fixes are used in a lot of domains, and we get a lot of feedback from different companies that are working in financial or insurance, and they are trying to add rules on their documents, but also to provide actions to fix these problems, or just to make, I don't know, the workflow more easily when they are editing those documents. And we will show you some use cases on how you can use this Schematron quick fix in your projects. So one use case is, for example, you have some documents that can be, I don't know, legal documents, but you can have also insurance or technical documentation like it's in my example. And you have some quality assurance rules on your documents, and you want to make sure that your content writer is adding the correct IDs, for example, or in the header, for example, I want to, on the root, want to have an ID that it's equal with the file name. On the entries, I want some IDs that are using maybe a pattern, maybe are using the value from the definition term here. Maybe some quality assurance rules that will not allow you to insert some elements that are in the language, or another one that maybe you split it by mistake a list, and you want to make sure that this doesn't happen, even you add a paragraph between those two lists, or you correct the problem. But the idea is that the content writer is not always an XML expert, and sometimes he needs an advice from an XML expert, and he needs to ask him, okay, what should I do here? Or if he does this alone, he can make mistakes and generate another problem. Maybe he doesn't copy all the attributes from the list that is splitted, or stuff like this. So they need to communicate with each other, and they will lose time. And maybe also the XML expert will not know to fix the problem by himself, because he doesn't know the content, and maybe he breaks the content, right? So an idea will be for the XML expert to provide some action for the content writer just to correct these problems by himself, right? It's easier in this way. So if you could provide some actions, will be more easy for the content writer. And will be actions like, okay, set the ID on the root, or add an ID for each list item, or for each entry, or merge two lists. And I will show you an example here, how this quality assurance route should look like. So I have here a problem with the ID. You see an ID on the topic, and I have a quick fix that says, okay, set the name of the file as the ID. Or another one that says, okay, I need an ID, and I want to set it for all my definition, and it uses the definition term. Or do not use screen and replace it with code block, because, I don't know, maybe screen is not okay for my documentation. Or here, just merge two lists. Another use case would be if you want to improve efficiency. So you want to help the content writer to create content more easily, and make sure that he also add the correct content in the right place. So you could have, for example, rules like, okay, if you didn't add an index term in your document, help me to add, and then you need to insert a set of elements like a prologue with index term, with key. There are a set of elements that needs to be inserted before body. Or if you, by mistake, break a table layout, then you can help him to correct this table layout. Or maybe replace order list with an unordered list, or I don't know, simple tables with complex tables. So you can provide different quick fix. Or like I have here, you have a link, and you want to create a link list. So if someone inserts a link just without a link list, you can provide an action to correct this. So I could show you some examples also for this use case. I have here a quick fix that checks if an index term is added, and it asks me what is the keyword value. And let's say I want to add an audio, and automatically adds a prologue with the metadata. And so this takes time to insert it by hand. So it's easier to do it like this. Or if you want to correct the layout of the table, you could add entries in all the places in the table. Or you could convert, for example, one element in another. Or you could just create a list with the content of another element. So these are other type of quick fix that can be used to improve efficiency when you edit your documents and make sure that the content writer doesn't break also the document. Another interesting idea that we had is that the Schematron quick fix language is very simple, has just 4 types of operation. And we wanted to keep it like this because it's easier to learn, it's easier to be implemented. And there are people that are asking, OK, we need also a rename operation, or we need also a merge operation, or we need to unwrap or wrap, you know. So we need other operations in the specification. But I think it's not OK to make the specification too complex. So an idea to solve this issue was to have these abstract Schematron quick fixes that will allow you to have some abstract parameters and allow to instantiate with different values the same action. Like I have here, it's a rename element action, and you get the element and the new name, and then just replaces the content and copies the content from the other element. And then these abstract quick fixes can be instantiated from an abstract pattern that has these parameters, like here. So you could have a rule that checks if an element exists and proposes to rename it in another element. And then depending on the language, you could use it to, I don't know, rename an order list in an itemized list or rename an UL in an OL. So this could work differently. I have here an example of such a library. So I created a library with different actions to wrap or unwrap an element. And there are abstract parameters for each of those. And then I have a library that also, a Schematron library that contains also abstract patterns. And these can be instantiated for different languages. I tested, for example, for Dogbook 4. And then I can have actions that will unwrap, for example, an itemized list, or an order list, or a figure will be wrapped in a paragraph. So could have actions like, so I use this library here. So I wanted to have the figure, for example, in a paragraph because it looks OK in the output. But I don't want to have, for example, a list maybe in a paragraph. And then I could have another action that will say, OK, just unwrap the list, you know, or rename it if you don't want to use order list, you want to use itemized list and things like this. Now I will invite Nico to present other use cases, more interesting, I think.
Well, quite a bit experimental. So yeah, I would like to show you 2 use cases which are, may extend your scope of Schematron and Schematron quick fix. The first one seems quite simple at the first glance. It's about ignoring in Schematron. And yeah, Schematron provides not only errors, you can not only declare errors in Schematron, you can also declare warnings and informations. And yeah, a warning means that it could be their problem, but it doesn't have to be a problem. So on my view, a warning is like Schrödinger's cat. So if you don't look at it, it's good and bad at the same time. And if you look at it and it's bad, it's good for you because you can fix it. But if it's bad, it's good, then it's bad for you because you can't do anything. You have still this warning. And you have always keep in mind that this warning, you can ignore it, and you don't have a solution to ignore it. So you need somehow to mark them, and then it can be ignored. So it's not a big deal in Schematron to ignore a warning. You can adjust your logic. You can say, okay, if the context of your test has an attribute with a specific namespace and specific name and a specific value, then this test will be ignored. And it's sometimes just a one-liner. The problem is that you have much conventions. You have, as I said, the PE name or the attribute name. You have the attribute namespace, this exact attribute namespace you need, or the PI position, it's before, or inside, or it's at the end. At the value, you don't want to ignore any warning. You want to ignore a specific warning. So it's not practical with only Schematron. With Schematron quick fix, it is. Because now you can say, you can declare your own quick fix, which just handle this. It's all under the control of the Schematron developer. He can just say, okay, this attribute, you need this attribute, then it will be ignored, and the quick fix does it. And the user just uses the quick fix. So there's a remarkable change, because now you use the quick fix not to fix the document. You use it to manipulate it or to annotate it. And the Schematron reacts on this annotation or on the manipulation. And this was a door opener for new ideas for me. The next example is one room behind this door. It's about a project called XSD Guide. It was an idea of Manuel Montero, my boss, and me. And we have in our daily business many times the problem that XSD is very large and very confusing, and you can do many things in multiple ways. And there are patterns for this, design patterns, but the user has problems to follow the rules of the design patterns, so there's always a mix-up. And the idea of the XD guide is to lead the user. So by asking questions and create the correct structure in XSD by the answers of these questions. And respecting rules of a selected design pattern, and this can be selected at the start of the development. And that's all done with Schematron, SQF, and XLT only. So let's have a look into it. A short look, I think. No, that's the other one. I start with an empty schema. And the only rule is that it has to be associated with a Schematron, which we provide. And that's why we see already a message. It says the XD guide is inactive. And there's a quick fix to say, okay, activate the XD guide. So I use it, and now it changed. I get an annotation with it just says the XD guide is now active. And the message changed, and now I get the message, please select the basic XD design pattern. And we provide two patterns, Venetian blind and salami slice. I take Venetian blind because I like it, I don't know why. And now it changed just minimal, it saved my selection inside of the annotation. And I get another message now. It says you should start with the root element. That's quite clear, isn't it? And the quick fix says, okay, define a root element name. Yeah, it's a good idea. And now there's the user entry in Schematron quick fix, which asks me, okay, what is your root element name? And I have to enter it, and I just say, okay, document, and okay. And now I get the structures of XD respecting the Venetian blind pattern, design pattern. and creating an XS element document with a complex type, document type. And again, an annotation, because it says now, okay, this complex type is not finished, because I didn't say anything about it. And there are the next questions. So it asked me, oh, sorry. Please check the content of the type, document type. And I can edit or specify the content by an DTD-like syntax. So you will see it. But now I need more space. Say, okay, I want a title and body, but multiple bodies and maybe an epilogue. Okay, and now I get a sequence with a title and body, a body with unbounded and epilogue, which is optional. Okay, thanks. And one more feature. I can create here, well, I can set the title now for the type for the title now, and here I have 3 options. And I would like to say use XSD primitive data type. And now I have here a drop-down box, and I can say, okay, the title is a string. Okay. Which one is it?
Yes, this
one. Okay, thanks. Okay, you already saw how it works a bit. I think I skipped this page because it's out of time. And I would like to point out what's important here. We choose this as a showcase and as an example. So we choose XD because every one of you know it. We don't need XSD. We can also do this for any other complex, large, huge XML standards. It's not necessary for XSD. And yeah, we wanted to find out what's possible, and we wanted to show it now. And it's everything done with Schematron, Schematron Quick Fix, and XSLT for the complex stuff. And yeah, it's our conclusion. Schematron Quick Fix became a powerful language, and it makes Schematron more powerful. And yeah, the last page is some implementations too, exactly. You saw I did it in my Escali plugin. Octavian did it in the native Oxygen. It's both in Oxygens, but they are different implementations. I still didn't get an implementation outside of the Oxygen. I searched for it, but yeah. And that's the resources.
Yeah, few resources also with the samples that we had here and some links
maybe
to the Schematron.
That's the importance, the samples, because there you can find the slides and then you can see find the other links.
So thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the demo, and we have time for questions. So, maybe it's muted.
It's not. Yeah.
I don't know. But the red one is working.
I find this fascinating, very promising, and I think it would be worth considering looking beyond XML. Now, for example, for cloud services, I think there are huge and very complex and difficult JSON configurations. So I think Quick Fix would be a very appropriate approach. And then I also remember the presentation of Alan about editing or using style sheets, spreadsheets. And I mean, it would perhaps be not trivial, but I could imagine that behind the scene, the spreadsheet is on the fly, turned into XML, and the quick fixes are active while you are editing the spreadsheet. Do you think that would be
Yes, would be
feasible?
possible to create such an implementation, yes, also for spreadsheets or... For sure, it could be done with... if you can do it with XSLT, then you can do it also with the Schematron quick fix, so it's okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, over there, Mathieu. I think that having support for JSON would be nice because we can create generic quick fix which will turn any JSON to XML.
Thank you for the presentation. It's really fun to see that. And the Schrödinger cat's allusion was really fine. You didn't find the solution or give, it's an open door, what I understood about the ignoring warnings.
For the ignoring part?
Yes,
Yes,
to ignore the warnings.
Right now, we don't have something in the specification, or it's an open discussion about this ignoring support in SQF. You can, right now, you can implement it, I don't know, just by using some XPath expression and looking, for example, some attributes from your document, or you could add some processing instructions in near or at the end of the document and ignore some of the rules. So it is not something in the specification, but I think it could be something depending on the application.
It's something which I find really useful and really a lack in Schematron. I told about this to Andrew, and I think we all face the same kind of problem on this.
Actually, I did experimental implementation in my Escali plugin. So it's an Escali extension. It works mostly. It's with processing instructions. Yeah, but it's not standard results. It's just, and I wanted to present that it's possible without any implementation. It's just
I also work with processing instruction the same, but need to be standardized probably.
Yeah, for example, you could have some quick fixes that will add some processing instruction before the element, and then have some rules in the processing part, in the Schematron steps, that will ignore that rule if processing instruction is near. So anyone can do such an implementation, and they can use this quick fix mechanism just to add the information to ignore the content.
Okay. I think maybe just a last question is about, you said you use quick fix and XSLT. You mean the XSLT is inside the Schematron? Or how does it work?
Yeah, maybe not all implementations support XSLT, but usually the standard implementation is in XSLT. So you could use XSLT also if you can use in Schematron, then you can use it in the Schematron quick fix to process complex and make complex operation, maybe make multiple modification, different documents, or I don't know, multiple modification in your document.
Okay.
Yeah, there are people that are extending this, and I've seen a lot of examples with dialogues presented from XSLT and stuff like this. So very complex.
Thank you very much.
Sounds cool. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
And just give us a second to switch to another speaker.